Ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting from an undisclosed location somewhere in the greater Boston area. Welcome to BamBoozled.Boston, the only New England podcast show that openly engages in death-defying on-air alcohol consumption, live music, and special guest appearances. Join us as we learn the finer things about alcohol, its origins, proper way to consume, and as the saying goes, whiskey, it's liquid sunshine. Here to inform, to inspire, and to imbibe are your hosts, Mike Grady and Sean Cochran.
G-Money! Minga, how you doing, huh?
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Fucking Fly My Noon sounds fantastic.
Yes, they do.
Thank you, Scott, for that riff.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So, Mike, I think we should we get some guests here.
We do have some guests here.
One hell of a show. We get something very, very important to talk about.
All right.
All kinds of cool stuff happening tonight.
Then I think we need to jump right in.
Yeah, let's do it. Go for it.
Well, there's that.
Here we go. Booze, the first frontier. These are the voyages of BamBoozled.Boston. Booze date Wednesday, October 14th, 2020. Join us as we explore all types of alcoholic beverages, bringing history, cockeyed perspective, and to boldly go where so many fine human beings have already gone before. Today, we're entering the world of whiskey, specifically Jack Daniels. We'd like to welcome you to the Booze Log.
Yeah, buddy. That was fantastic. I love it. That was great. So we have some special guests here, Mike.
Woo-hoo.
Do you know who these guys are? Who are they? Did you just let them in?
I thought you did.
All right. Mark, do you know these people? Anyways, so we have Mark Fitzpatrick and Chuck Alaimo here.
Yee!
Tonight is a very special show because the timing with last two episodes that we did, one was pre-recorded and one was just so tight. We lost an amazing musician.
So we did.
Yeah.
Almost, was it 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago?
October 6th.
October 6th.
Yeah.
And it was Eddie Van Halen. And so we're going to talk quite a bit about Eddie. And we're not going to have like a total bummer show. We're going to talk about and celebrate all of the amazing things that he did. And it's just amazing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, was he an influence to you, Chuck?
Oh my God! The first time I heard him, I didn't know it was him. It was just back in the '70s, being a little kid and hearing it, and they're like, "Oh wow, that sounds so cool!" And what's going on? Not really being a guitar player at that time, and then later on, a couple of years later, actually getting the LP in my hand, putting the name and the sound and everything all together because he has such a unique sound, and I just remember spinning my friend's album, Women and Children First.
Yeah.
Actually having it in my hand.
1981.
And it was just like, I gotta hear that again. I gotta hear that again. I gotta hear that again. It was just unbelievable. And from then on, I was just hooked. Absolutely hooked.
And it was, well, we're going to get into a little bit more, but Mark, when's the first time you heard Eddie Van Halen?
So I'd like with Chuck, it was about 81, 82. I was living in a small town. Like him, my neighbor had Diary of a Madman, Blizzard of Oz, and of course, Women and Children First. Mm-hmm. And that was, we were, as a kid back then, that's what you did. You listened to music, and he played. I was just blown away. Like
What track was the first one that kind of grabbed you that you can remember?
So, it's funny. I was talking about this particular song with some friends. It was Romeo Delight off of Women and Children.
Huh, okay.
But the thing was, as I got older and I started getting more in tune with the instrument, MTV
Yes.
came around. I can't quote years on MTV, but somebody help me. Was that 82, 83, something around?
Actually, MTV started in August of 81.
Okay. So, do you guys remember the video for this for the single "So This Is Love," Van Halen? And it was a live performance, but they actually had they synced up the live performance with, well, as good as they could, with the album track. And I remember watching MTV with my father.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing Eddie and the band, real time, like a live show. I'm like, oh my goodness, like that wasn't the word I used, but trying to be right here. But his grin, that smile,
Yeah.
and the music. So this guy is doing things that no other guitar player, and I mean, we can get into that later, but he's just, and it's all done with a smile, and he's having fun. And
Sure.
I'll never forget, I asked my dad, I'm like, is he getting paid? Can you make money doing that? Because
Right?
I'm like,
And that's what gets you, right?
well,
Matter of fact, you can, son.
I don't know. You know what's funny? I don't know why I asked them that. Maybe because at the time in school, they're like, oh, think about what you want to be when you grow up. Kids were like, oh, firefighter and, policeman and doctor and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, man, look at the smile on his face. And this music is just incredible. So I'm like, I'd rather do that.
Well, even firemen would rather do that, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing was, I'm like,
For sure.
I think that's why I asked my dad. I'm like, is he getting paid? Can you get paid? Make money doing that? And he's like, absolutely. And I'm like, I'm following that guy.
So I mean, easily. I mean, if there was not an Eddie Van Halen to you guys,
Oh my goodness.
you probably still would have gotten into the instrument. I'm sure, because let's just say that you were going to do that.
Sure.
But who? This guy kind of drove you to it. I mean, besides Eddie Van Halen, give me one other guy. Randy Rhoads, maybe, or something.
Definitely Randy Rhoads, absolutely, yeah. But so many of the guitar players go through the 70s where, if you're from the New England area, you got the band Boston.
Yep, sure.
The great songwriting, but the guitar playing was still really good.
Yep.
The singing was through,
Of course, yeah.
the roof. And believe it or not, the Scorpions, they were a great rock band, yeah.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin,
Sure.
let's see, this countless bands
Right.
that had a guitar fronted sound. Foreigner,
The Who. I mean,
The Who
was another great
one of my
example.
biggest idols. That
Sure.
being able to try to play pinball Wizard for the first time was
Right. Well, and he was another guy. He was another pianist as well, right? Pete Townsend.
Yes, he was.
He
Yeah.
had a lot of. That's where a lot of that original sequencing programming that came for Bob O'Reilly and all that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So he was groundbreaking, and he crossed the two over.
Yeah.
And of course, Eddie. The brief history, or the long history on Eddie. He was Dutch, and he came to America with his family.
yeah.
On a
boat.
with
A piano.
a piano.
Less than $100 to the entire family's savings, and arrived in California.
Yeah.
And that's where, so picture this, coming from a completely different country, trying to make something of yourselves, because back then America, well, it still is. America is, the place where dreams are made of.
Sure.
You come over here and they can't speak the language now. A lot of people don't know that. So Eddie and Alex, obviously for the non-Van Halen fans, Alex was his brother, played drums in Van Halen. The father was a master pianist and a clarinet player. So that's for UMG.
That's how they got over, because the dad gigged his way over on the boat.
Yep, to pay. Yep.
Which is amazing.
But that in itself.
And they actually took part in it as well, playing piano.
Did they?
Yes,
Well,
yes. 5 years. Excuse me. 5, and Alex was older. They started at 5, and they started taking piano lessons because the thing was, Mom was like, "Listen, you want to be a musician, you want to do something respectable." So concert pianists were going to be where they went. But as Eddie and Al have said many a time, it was the Beatles and Dave Clark 5, and that piano went. Peace out. They deuced that thing right away. They're like, well, that's what we're going to do. Kind of like when when us saw, Eddie for the first time live on TV, we're like, holy, can we say, you can swear on this, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, but you're like, holy shit, like this is amazing. And to piggyback what was Chuck was saying, I don't want to jump too far ahead on Eddie's history and his impact. But, we had Jimi Hendrix, we had Jimmy Page, and a lot of people don't know, we also had Tony Iommi and Richie Blackmore. Those guys were the first heavy metal band, if you will. Zeppelin was considered heavy metal back then.
It was,
And,
I thought those were influences for Ed. I mean,
well, Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton.
Eric
was
Clapton.
Yes.
Yeah,
Clapton was a big.
Yeah.
Eric Clapton. He is
Cream. I think Cream was
Cream.
his big,
Yeah, with Ginger Baker and
Noel Redding.
so that that was Ed used to spend hours
Noel
upon
Redding was-
hours. No, not Noel. It was Jack Bruce.
Jack Bruce. Sorry.
Huge bass player.
I know.
Come on now.
It's coming in. It's clicking in.
So, we can start at the beginning, but just Chuck was talking about the players coming up, and if you go back to the early '70s when Van Halen started gigging around, they were doing house parties before they got into Gazzarri's, before they got into the Whiskey A Go Go. This was '74 through '75. Then back in the day, around '76, you had Quiet Riot with Randy Rhoads. The name escapes me right now, but I can't remember George Lynch's first band. You guitar players out there, I'm sure you know who George Lynch is, Lynch Mob and Dawkins and a bunch of others. You also had Jake E. Lee, who was in Rat, the first guitar player before Warren DeMartini. So you have George Lynch, Jake E. Lee, Randy Rhoads, Warren DeMartini. You have all these killers. I mean, these guys are like a killer's row of guitar players. But if you interview all of them, they all went to see Eddie and Van Halen.
Right.
Because they were just tearing up all of California. And, as silly as it sounds, the lead vocalist from Rat, back in those days, he was telling all his guys when Warren joined the band, because J.K. Lee got the Aussie gig, that were like, we have to go to the Whiskey. You have to see this band. So Warren was like, oh, what are you talking about? What do you got? And it was Van Halen at the Whiskey, and they were just blown away. Like, what is this guy doing? And all these guys followed in his footsteps. And like a lot of people say in the background, Jimi Hendrix was here. He did X, Y, and Z for guitar with the visual, the lighting thing, the theatrics, the playing, all the special effects, etc. And, Eddie not really probably aware of Jimmy, but not having him be an influence on him like Eric Clapton, because Eddie would spend all the time in his room just looping Cream on vinyl. And he would learn all of Eric Clapton's licks, note for note. It was crazy. And but Eddie, because he was so secluded and entrenched in his instrument, that he developed all these things on his own, because he was poor, so he didn't have the money for all the effects, all the pedals, all the fancy amps, all the everything. All he had was a guitar.
And what kind of guitar it was?
It was like a Del Rey. He started with that. A lot of people don't know Eddie actually, when they started gigging, he had money. He was playing a Les Paul. Okay. And we can jump into him changing over to a Strat, because he didn't like the single coil pickup. Sounded too thin. It wasn't rock and roll.
The whole story of him.
Oh, geez, dude.
Chiseling out a
Destroying guitars.
destroying guitars.
Destroying guitars.
Which good for him. I mean, if he didn't do that, I mean, he took a chance, and you can hear it on.
Yeah, and
Everything.
he's responsible. Like, and it's not even like up for debate or anything of the such, where he's responsible for what they call a super Strat, kind of like what Chuck has here. Mm-hmm. It had a vibrato bar, or whammy bar as they call it, for changing the pitch of the note, or like a vocalist with vibrato, and he combined the sound of a Les Paul to a Strat-styled guitar, because Eddie was like, Les Pauls, they're like 9-10 pounds. They're too heavy. I can't jump around and do all this weird stuff, on stage.
Yep.
And so he combined both instruments. I don't want to bore everyone with details.
No, keep going, really.
No, but you know what I mean. But here's the thing. So the one thing that I will not leave out is when Eddie came on the scene and Van Halen started to take Storm, people were like, what is he doing? Like, what is that? So every major guitar company, whether it be Fender, Charvel, Jackson, and think of any of the guitars back then from the late 70s, early 80s, they all started to factory produce off the line everything that Eddie had done himself because
it was working and
because it was working and nobody had built one or designed one.
Yeah.
This was all Eddie doing things out of necessity for him, so he can create and be the guy who he is. So I'll let you guys. I think that was a long time.
So I mean, do you think that the fact that he was a piano player? You know, you've got your left hand, you get your right hand, and playing by yourself in your bedroom. You're trying to fill up so much extra space, and that was one of the things he did extremely well. Like he could just wail on a rhythm, and then do like some sort of like passing shred lead into the next rhythm, and it was seamless. It was like double tracked, but of course it wasn't.
Right.
And I just think that that might have come from the piano side. And correct me if I'm wrong, but being able to play, one hand stops playing doesn't mean the other one did. I mean, you're literally incorporating these two hands, and he didn't invent the finger tapping, right? I mean, it was
to the level he did.
To the level
he did. I mean, there were other players such as like I remember reading an article with him saying that he once saw Jimmy Page just tap a note with his right hand, but didn't really do anything with that.
Right.
And then somewhere also in that same interview, it really wasn't until to use that two-hand technique, he said he came up with the idea in the bathroom. He was in the bathroom, and he's like, "Oh, let me try to work this out."
Okay.
And he walks to the guitar, and then whatever the process was to be able to develop what we know from Van Halen 1 and on is obviously years of just woodshedding and on it. But if I can add to what Mark's story was talking about the guitar, the Les Paul and all that, was funny because with the Les Paul, the weight and that big sustained sound, also the Les Pauls had a humbucker versus a single coil where all the Strats did.
Right.
So he was like, well, let me take the humbucker out of this and put it in that.
Okay.
And that's when he started chopping up all the guitars.
That's what made that special.
Yeah, because the Strats only had single coils.
Okay. Which is what now? For single coil makes us what kind of sound? Is it compared to a humbucker?
Kind of like the Jimi Hendrix, the thinner sound, but I mean a nice sound, a great sound.
Yeah, sure. like a Doobie Brothers type of rhythm.
So that traditional Strat sound.
Strat sound.
Single coil sound.
Yes.
Okay. And then the Les Paul has a much deeper, thicker tone.
Yes, yeah.
Now, that has something to do with the placement of the pick on the body in relation to the neck as well? Or is it...
the pickup is closer to the bridge.
Yep.
So that was a beefier, more aggressive sound. So picture it like this: if you in the audience that can't, that are just listening. So you picture a triangle, right? And then at the top of the triangle, that's your EQ. So if you were to look on an EQ and you have the top of the triangle, you're getting all basically the top end of the EQ spectrum and maybe a little bit of mids, high mids. So with a humbucker, you're kind of getting from left to right, kind of, but flat across the board. So it's more of a like you're getting all the frequencies as opposed to just very specific with a single coil Strat sound. So if you listen to like Hendrix or even back in the day like Deep Purple, Richie Blackmore was heavily into a Strat. So when you would listen to like Chooch, help me out with Highway Star, things like that. Nobody's going to steal my car and stuff like that. So when you're hearing that, it sounds thick per se on the recording because you have the bass and the keyboards filling out that EQ spectrum, where a Les Paul. So think something like maybe Stairway to Heaven or something back in the early or Communication Breakdown. Like that, off of
so
Zeppelin.
What are you saying? You're saying the Communication Breakdown is more of a
Les Paul sound.
So it's darker.
It's big. It's darker as opposed to brighter. So we use those type of.
So like the Richie Blackmore Stratocaster sound. I mean, we can hear it in any one of those records. I mean, that was his big go-to, which is one of my favorite tones as well.
Sure.
So you're saying that Eddie was able to combine the two, so he was getting the Les Paul sound
to kind of become
in the
one
chassis,
kind of thing.
the chassis, I guess you could say, of the Stratocaster.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And was that that guitar at that point, was it 2 pickups or was it a single, just one
Just a
pickup?
single humbucker in the bridge position. There was no other guitar like that on the planet.
So what was the rest of his gain structure like? I mean, it came out of the guitar. I know we had talked about a MX, was it Phase,
Yeah.
a Phaser or something like that?
Phase.
You mentioned that?
So, not to babble on about gear, but
Well, let's do it quickly, Mark.
I'll do my best. So, I believe it was a 68 Plexi back in the day.
Plexi is the amplifier.
Yeah, Marshall Plexi.
Okay.
So 68. He had 6550 power tubes in it,
Okay.
and it was just obnoxiously loud. And he
Now,
was
not to interrupt you, but did the gain come from a preamp, or was that just the amp falling apart because he turned it all to God's?
Well, there's a couple things. too.
yeah. There's 2 stories.
Okay.
I'll say this because it's the thing is, Eddie bought a second Marshall, and what he didn't know is it came from Europe, like literally, because some Marshalls.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say.
See,
yeah.
so here it comes.
Wow.
So a lot of Marshalls, obviously, and you guys can help me out. What is it? 110, right?
So 110 volts is traditional American power.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything European
Is 220.
220 or 240.
240. So here's the thing. So Ed works at a music store, before they get signed. A Marshall comes in. He's like, I got to have a second one because I blow this thing up. What am I going to do? So he buys the second one. So he brings it home and he plugs it in. He's like, well, this thing isn't working. He's
Right,
like, I got
right.
fucked.
It's running at half throttle, which is not going to work.
Right,
for a
right.
two-band.
So here's the
Right.
thing. But here's the funny thing. So he's sitting there, and finally, as it's warming up, if you will, because he plugged a 220 into an American 110,
Yeah.
it's running at half voltage.
Yes.
And he's like, "Oh my god, this sounds amazing." And he's like, he goes, this is the sound that I want. He goes down to the local, like, I don't want to say hardware.
But he
store.
didn't know what was happening at that point yet.
Well, he did. He
Okay.
figured it out because he looked on the back and he's like, "Oh, this says 220."
Right.
And he figured out that because it's getting half voltage, now he's getting what they call sag.
Okay.
So sag. So for guitar players out there, we all know what we talk about. There's sag, and there's the notes become spongy on the fretboard, easier to play, if you will, to a degree. He goes down to the electric store, or I don't want to say hardware store, but he's like, "Listen, do you have anything that can bring down?" Like, I don't know if you call it a power converter, kind of
So
thing.
he wanted to change the voltage.
He wanted to change the voltage.
Dimmer switch.
Okay.
A dimmer switch,
Oh,
yeah,
dimmer switch,
because
okay.
he
Yeah.
literally he was talking about, he's trying to describe it to the guy behind the counter. He's like, like a dimmer switch. And back in the 70s, you had
Yeah, sure.
a dimmer switch but it was a circle, so it looked like that. He goes, "Yeah, we got this right here." And so he buys it, plugs the amp into that.
Okay.
And of course, this is dragging out. Long story short, he keeps playing, and he brings it down to now where this 100-watt amp that's wired for 220 is running at 90 volts.
Wow. Okay.
And he was like, this is the fucking sound.
Yeah.
So, because when they were playing Gazaris and everywhere else and all that stuff, all the managers would be like, "Your fucking amp's too loud," this and that. And this is with Eddie taking a 412 cabinet and literally laying it face down so the speakers are facing the floor. Or he
So for that particular amplifier, you needed to drive every portion of it to get it to sound the way it needed to sound.
Yeah.
And that's why you need the volume that high.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Right.
That's
And
why
it-
my bass is always so loud. But go ahead.
Right. So, but the one thing he noticed is he's going through tubes like a motherfucker because
It's just,
it's fucking melting it. But that's the tone. So to answer your question, Sean, did he have any like overdrive pedal? Eddie wasn't into that at all. All he had on the stage with him was his MXR Phase 90 from the 70s. He had an MXR EQ pedal because he was dialing in and taking out certain frequencies that he didn't want to be there.
Yep.
And he had his Echoplex, which is a tape delay, which is basically
Right. Just a looping tape.
looping tape machine that
Old
he
school.
had-
Gives you like a reverb.
Real old school.
Which
Yeah.
because the amps back in the day didn't have reverb built in.
Yeah.
yeah.
That didn't come until later. So if he's buying an amp that's from 75,
It didn't. Yeah. It didn't have.
Oh,
it.
there was bass, middle, treble,
And then you would
gain,
have
volume.
to do a preamp. You'd have to load the. Nowadays we have the two stages of the amplifier.
yeah.
you get the preamp to get the sag, this particular crunch that you're looking for.
Shoot, other way around. Because now, because of that, amps are more reliant on preamp distortion. Because think about it, unless you are playing the Verizon Center or Gillette,
that's what I'm saying. So you could turn an amplifier down to a speaking level.
Yes,
and still have that crunch because you're loading up. What I was getting back with the reverb, that's the only time you could do that. Is because you had this controlled crunch, and then you could gently put it through a master section of an output of an amplifier.
Right.
So that's the difference. But they weren't really doing that back then.
No.
Eddie was messing around with the power, getting his amp to basically do whatever the heck he wanted.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is obviously amazing.
Yeah, and he was also taking the pickups that actually came from the Les Paul, and he was adding coils to it to make it even hotter.
Really?
Yeah, so he
was winding more coils on top?
He was winding more.
Good for him.
And then what he would do, I remember him explaining that he would have wax. He'd have like a pot.
The paraffin wax.
Of wax on a stovetop. He would take like a wire and dip it for X amount of seconds and take it out. And he said he lost, everything was trial and error.
Yeah, he melted a lot of pickups.
He melted a lot of pickups because he left it in the wax too long. And
no kidding.
Yeah, so all that was trial and error until he came down to the ability of winding it just right and dipping it to the point where even like Damasio himself from Damasio Pickups and whatnot would still blow him away. And that was his business. And here comes this kid, like, I'm just winding this extra, and I'm dipping it in wax.
He approached it as a player. So he probably took each prototype, popped it in the guitar, popped it into this rig that he's tailored to his sound, and then just built it from there.
Just kept going.
And then he chose the one that worked, and he gigged it.
And he just kept messing with the components on it just till it kept working. That's why his guitar was simple: one pickup, one volume.
Yeah,
that's it.
When he gutted that Strat, he's like, what the fuck do I do with all these extra shit? Yeah. And because he didn't kind of, to a degree, know what he was doing, he literally wired the input jack of the guitar to the pickup, one volume knob, and that was it. But
you can tell that that's how he plays, because it's, I'm just being me over here. Yeah. You can hear that he's constantly moving that volume knob to get different sounds, and he's not stepping on pedals.
Yeah, there was no clean channel. There was no multi-channel amps back then. If you had multi-channels, you would buy each individual amp and then run an ABY or an ABC switch. Sure. But like you said, Sean, everything. So when they recorded Van Halen records, it was live. It was Michael and one. They were all together, but all sectioned off. And everything was
some of the ISO recordings, you can hear the bleed from the rest of the band in the other ISO room.
And that band had played so many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shows before they ever made it in the studio with Ted Templeman that they were so fucking tight. Like you said at the beginning, he was, a lot of people think of Eddie as like, oh my God, he was so innovative with his leads. Of course he was. He was doing things that was just, it was just him. It wasn't him trying to be a superhero. It was just him being him. Right. And he was doing rhythm and lead. And a lot of people, us guitar players will admit to this. He was a motherfucker of a rhythm player. That he had swing.
He may still hold rhythm.
Yeah, he's top of the heap.
Top of the heap.
And like when you listen to that stuff and like, you could play, but you cannot
listen to the nuances, some of the stuff that you really listen to. Because anybody, I'm not gonna say anybody, but anybody can play a riff and be like, all right, that sounds like the riff. But you really got to listen to some of the ghost notes. You can hear, I forget what song it was, but he was down picking, and you can him timely coming back across that same string and then hitting the next string. And it's just things you don't even really hear until you listen for it.
Right, you got to dig in and listen.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So on that note, let's do this. You guys think of a riff or a song, and we'll just kind of break it apart. But we're gonna have Mike talk about our.
Mike hasn't said shit.
We talk about our booze.
I couldn't get a word in edgewise. For fuck's sake.
Hey, well, you see, the guitar players here. You know, they're not gonna let you do anything.
No, well, hold on. So Michael Grady. So
Yes, sir.
We didn't hear one in the background.
So what was your like? What kind of impact did Van Halen or Eddie have on you? Because I don't know, your audience must know that Michael Grady is a very accomplished horn player, and so let's talk about that before we jump into the riffs. Because,
Mike, tell us.
But I mean,
I will tell you. So, I was attending the Berklee College of Music, and I'm gonna go. 1984 is where I'm gonna do my launching point. I was sitting in class, an arranging class, and one of the professors had said that they were the following year starting a guitar stylings of Eddie Van Halen class. Because he had, and this was 84, 85, he had such an unbelievable impact. My freshman year at Berklee in 82 had 300 guitar majors.
Wow.
Of course
As
it did.
opposed to, what did they traditionally get? I mean...
Well, that would just 300. It could be anywhere between 300 to 500 guitar majors. Every single one of them wanted to go to Berklee and become a star.
Sure.
And
Okay.
so then they had already acknowledged his impact on musicians. So I remember standing in the hallway, and one of the things I loved about Berklee is it was very, it was like the United Nations. And so I had my friend Carl Carter, a bass player. He was he was doing Broadway in New York recently until it shut down. And he comes out and he's like, "Hey man, did you check out this 1984?" He goes, "Have you heard what the fuck Van Halen's playing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I checked it out." And he's like, "Yeah." And so we all went into a room. We just sat there. We listened to the album from top to bottom. And then it was like when he worked on Michael Jackson, people completely freaked out. If you could walk down the hallway, you would hear people listening to that over and over again. Because he took what had ended up happening is Quincy Jones and Jackson had the genius enough to know that if you're going to pull in a rocker, then this album's going to freaking take off. And so they bring him into the solo. The interesting thing is Steve Lukather, guitar player for
rhythm
Toto,
and bass.
did the rhythm and bass parts.
Yeah.
So anyway, the whole point of this is that from my point of view, he was a musician's musician. He's the kind of person that you listen to when you hear him solo, you can hear the influences of his traditional piano playing. He had all of the classical workings within his playing. But most of what he demonstrated, the thing that always blew me away with him was his technique. It was impeccable. It was flawless. His notes, his timing could not be matched. And I would sometimes sit there and listen to it, and he was equivalent to the greatest classical player. As far as I'm concerned, when you speak about great musicians, and composers, Van Halen is up there with Beethoven, he's up there with Hendrix, he's up there with Bach, because of not only that, but the influence that he's had. He would have been able to be a violin player just because of his technique and the classical leanings that he had at his playing. But then he had an unbelievable feel that I just completely blew me away. So I appreciate him for his technique, for his style, for the way he played, and also just simply because every single video I ever watched him, you said at the very beginning, he looked like he was having the freaking time of his life.
Yeah, he made it look easy.
He made it look easy, and I'd sit there sometimes and I'd watch it, and I'd look and I don't even know how, for me, a point of view being a trombone player, a little more into jazz than the rock. And I still would be completely blown away by what he would do.
Sure.
And I did. So most of you know I'm a teacher. I did a whole thing today. I do something called the Listening Lab, and we listened to a song, and then we listened to his remake. My entire thing today was the original song and then a Van Halen remake. So we did "You Really Got Me," "Oh Pretty Woman," and "Dancing in the Streets." The kids couldn't figure out who the band was until I played an isolated solo of Eddie's from Michael Jackson's "Beat It." And they heard the riff, and then it was so funny to watch around the classroom. So they went, "Wait a minute, we know that song. Is that "Beat It?" And I hear somebody go, "Wait a minute, that's Eddie Van Halen. Are we listening to Van Halen?" And it just happened really fast. Wow. And then and it was interesting because I would play the original. I mean, all the originals are great, But anytime that you would jump from You Really Got Me, the Kinks, over to Van Halen, and the guitar was so freaking fat,
dude.
And the kids, they'd sit there and they listen to the original one, and then they would come and they'd just stop for a second, and I could see half the class just sitting there. They'd just be bobbing back and forth, and and I'll tell you, man, that's the effect rock music has on the generation. But it's so funny that we're doing this show now, and they did that today at school. Right. And the kids loved it. They were totally locked in, and I have them write down, like, what do you think of this? What do you think of the tonal color, the timbre, all of that? And they write it all down, and I read it, and see what they have to say. Right. And it was a lot of fun. And I had a teacher walk by. He walks by the class. He stops, and he backtracks. He goes, "Are you playing Van Halen?"
Well, yes, I am.
And then he walks in for a second. He's like, "Dude, that's awesome."
And you would have like, listen. We need to talk after class because there needs to be a curriculum on fucking Van Halen,
right? A whole class on it.
There we go.
So yeah, that's my brass player's take on him. But so those guys are going to figure something out. Like I do the Jack Daniels.
Yeah. So what I was going to say, pick a tune that you guys can just do. Just let's pick a riff, and we'll kind of destruct it a little bit after. Well, think about that while Mike talks a little bit about Jack Daniels. And then we'll talk about why we're doing Jack Daniels, and there's another whole message behind that. So.
Oh, really?
All right, so let's talk a little bit. Is Jack Daniels, here's a question that people always ask, is it a whiskey or a bourbon? Yes and no. Jack Daniels chooses not to call itself a bourbon, but the historic brand applies for federal label approval under the class of bourbon, and Tennessee whiskey is listed as straight bourbon in the North American Free Trade Agreement from 2017. But we already know that doesn't count anymore. Right. So now, what's so special? So many people drink Jack Daniels. What's so special about it?
Well, Van Halen drank it.
Well, there you go. That's it. Oh, that's enough said.
And this has been the Booze Log.
Thanks so much.
Right.
Michael Anthony. Huge. Remember, Michael Anthony had a Jack Daniels bass.
That's right.
Who's running the show here? Let him finish his thing.
No, it's all right. That's right.
Was there applause like?
We talked about hooking a taser up into your seat.
I didn't know it was supposed to be.
Hold on, Mark. What'd you say? Shh. Say something.
Go ahead, Michael.
I said, and now stay tuned for a very special blossom.
Oh, God.
Blossom.
God.
Like the TV show Blossom?
Yes, that's what NBC used to do. Stay tuned for it.
Oh, okay. So anyways, I'm sorry. A brief history.
Okay, so Jack Daniels, what's so special about it? It's a Tennessee whiskey as opposed to a bourbon because the whiskey goes through a charcoal mellowing process while it's still moonshine or white lightning. For 10 to 12 days, the shine drips through the homemade sugar maple charcoal. Yummy. Then it heads to the barrel to age just like bourbon. We got some more information here. As far as there is actually 12 things you didn't know about Jack Daniels. You ready to hear it? Let's talk about it.
Okay.
The world drinks a whole lot of Jack Daniels. It's the best-selling spirit in the world by value, making it the best-selling American spirit, followed by Bacardi and then Jim Beam.
Interesting.
The origins of the famous old the number 7 are a mystery. No one actually knows why the number 7 is on the bottle of Jack Daniels. But 3 rumors are that Daniel had 7 girlfriends. No way. That the number 7 train was the one that carried his barrels, and that he lost one of his prize barrels of whiskey for 7 years. Unfortunately, the only one who knows that truth is Jack himself. Jack is produced in a dry county, but you can still buy a bottle at the distillery. While it's well known that Jack Daniels is produced, ironically, in a dry county, you can in fact legally buy bottles of Jack Daniels at the distillery tour. The whiskey inside the commemorative bottle, a loophole established in a state law, is free. Frank Sinatra was buried with a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Along with a pack of Camel cigarettes, a Zippo lighter, and $1 worth of dimes.
Interesting.
Really? I would think with his mob ties, he would be buried with cognac or something like that.
Well, maybe that was his cognac.
Maybe.
The Jack Daniels Distillery is an extremely popular tourist attraction. Over 250,000 people per year make the pilgrimage to Jack Daniels Distillery.
This guy.
Brown-Forman has been spending.
I was sitting last October.
No kidding.
Yep.
They've been looking to expand production. Brown-Forman, who owns Jack Daniels, Jack Daniels has seen such explosive growth. After a $103 million expansion in 2013, they announced an additional $140 million investment in their distillery in a visitor center. A mere 3 years later, in February 2016, you've been there.
Yeah, I was there last
How
October.
was it?
It was amazing, absolutely amazing. It, I was never much of a Jack drinker, but no,
I'm laughing. Don't go ahead, Chuck,
okay.
go ahead,
No,
go
I was just gonna say. Did I say something?
No, it's him.
No, but the
Tim
tour
with the ice.
Oh, the tour was absolutely amazing, and the history of it. The grounds are beautiful. They show you everything how they make everything. How can I say it and explain it right? They don't waste a thing when they're there. I mean, they show you like how they chop the wood, where they burn
Really?
it to make the charcoal.
Wow.
I mean, where they burn it, they incinerate it. It's like you could drive 2 cars under it. That's how much they incinerate at a time. And that's just one load that they go through. And they show you the whole process from the beginning of the wood they choose to burn for the charcoal, the way they use for the to ignite it. I'm going to use the wrong word. The propellant to get it going. It's actually from the distillery. It's their alcohol. So everything they use gets cycled. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And then along the way, the tour was funny. They had one of the barrels that's that's holding all the whiskey. And the tour guide told me to lift the lid of the top of this massive, barrel. And so about a dozen other people around me. So I lift it, and just the fumes that come out, you get instant buzz.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, one shake.
We're going there right now.
It literally hits you in the face so hard. You're like,
Go for a swim?
you immediately get dizzy. You get dizzy
Like
for
the Toxic Avenger?
a couple.
Or the guy from RoboCop that gets hit by the car and gets a night. Never mind.
I remember that.
But anyways, yeah. So the place is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So thank you. We're going to get it. Actually, there's a little spot here.
That was great. That was great, Chuck. Thank you.
This is crazy.
The hook is going to come in.
Okay, a Lutheran minister taught Jack to distill. His name was Dan Call. Well, at 6 years old, when Jack was 13, Dan Call's wife, forced him to choose between the ministry, which viewed alcohol as a sin, and his whiskey. Call sold the distillery to Jack. Jack Daniels' parent company, Brown-Forman, is also selling a lot of Finnish vodka. The distinction between bourbon and Tennessee whiskey is all about charcoal. Jack Daniels is a Tennessee whiskey as opposed to a bourbon because the whiskey goes through a charcoal mellowing process while it is still moonshine or white lightning. For 10 to 12 days, the shine drips through homemade sugar maple charcoal, then it heads to the barrel to age. Just like bourbon, its process Jack learned from the Lutheran minister Dan Call that we just previously spoke about. The brand has had strong connections to music since its founding days. Jack Daniels has always had a history connected to music. You just spoke about Michael Anthony and his Jack
bass.
Daniels bass.
Yep.
Yeah.
Duty-free shoppers buy astounding amount of Jack Daniels. Duty-free primarily being in
Airports.
airports and border entries.
Right.
Jack Daniels possibly died trying to break into a safe. It was his own safe.
What do you mean possibly?
He died in a very unfortunate way, and unable to remember the combination to a safe in his office. He kicked in frustration, breaking his toe and forming an infection that would kill him 6 years later.
Fuck. Really?
Ironically, if he had just doused his toe with his own whiskey shortly after breaking it, the infection never would have occurred.
See? That's what I'm talking about. Booze heals.
Wait. Hold
Booze.
on, let's see.
So, is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Hey. So, are you done?
I'm done.
I was just going to say, so the reason we're drinking Jack Daniels tonight is they had an endorsement. I mean, Michael Anthony being a bass player myself, big fan of Michael Anthony. The show's about Eddie, but they all, they would, it's part of the problem, but they would technically chug whiskey on stage, Jack Daniels,
Absolutely.
bourbon and whatnot. And it turned out that they're famous for, the Michael Anthony bass, the bass solo, the whole thing. That was one of my things that I really enjoyed. And I don't care who you are, when and Live Without a Net, when he was chugging.
Oh my God, yeah.
Seriously, the running around and the bass. I mean, you can't. How can you function like that after drink? I can't do it. I can barely talk right now, and I only had 2 glasses. But anyways, and so the Jack Daniels thing. Let's not forget that Eddie Van Halen had a drinking problem for sure, and he went through rehab, and it was a very, very dark area for him. And it's not that we're perpetuating that or anything like that. We're celebrating his life, the good times, and the Jack Daniels really was part of the Van Halen is like Jack Daniels to me. I mean, it really, really is. And in the Heinekens, that was my little
nod
because they were Dutch Van Halens.
Dutch.
From nice Holland beer here.
Netherlands.
So
he's going to
just a little something. So that said, guys.
Oh, here we go.
What's your favorite Van Halen song? Something like a quick riff that you can put together. You can play here for us right now. And what makes it special to you if you were to break the riff down, or even like the song itself? I mean, where was Eddie coming from? I know that the wizardry with the solo. I mean, literally, he was waving a wand around with guitar solos. But the songwriting, the chord structures.
That was funny.
Dude, he's like a warlock. I mean,
I love
seriously.
that. Yeah, no, I agree. That was just a great.
Chuck, you take this one first.
Well, lucky me. All right.
So I mean, what do you get? What's one of your favorite songs?
Well, I probably can't even play my favorite. But I was like making a horrible attempt earlier because I'm not really playing much electric right now. But and I can remember like Mean Streets.
Okay, sure.
And just hearing that of what the technique he was doing. And I'm butchering the hell out of it. But the idea.
That's an American 60 cycle hum, by the way.
Yes.
I can recognize that.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So, yes, we're all going to be
Thank
going.
you, National Grid, for the clean power.
National Grid.
Sorry, Chuck. Go ahead.
No, that's all good. But hearing this on the album and just hearing all these sounds, and you're like, what am I listening to? Yeah. What is that? I mean, how is he making this sound? And it's just so much going on. And that's just the intro to the song Mean Streets. Yeah. So it's just this cool vibe, which Eddie Van Halen was. He was vibe. He was the feel. Sure. And where it came from, who knows?
So it's percussive.
Oh, it's
left hand. It's got the original. The fret length of the instrument itself. Then you've got the right hand. Yeah. Not only being percussive with the left hand, you get the tapping thing going on. Yeah. But that right hand is also in the perfect harmonic spot to get a harmonic.
Exactly.
Of whatever
the 12th he's trying. The 12th fret.
So not only it was multi-layered. So not only did he have his standard notation on the fretboard. Yep. He had the right hand, and he was able to do this on top. But there was another layer on top of that, which was the harmonics. Yeah. That if a certain combination of the distance, the scale length of whatever note you're fretting, created all these different.
Right, but the thing is too with him. I mean, you swear, even if what you think might have been you could say, "Oh, that was a bad note." I mean, his discovery of what. Like the guitar, especially the electric, the overtones from being in an amp that allows you to have that versus like an acoustic guitar. Yep. Lets you. Sure. And he knew the nuances everywhere. Yes. And so basically, when he was doing he just fiddled around and like, okay, I could get this sound. If I can get the sound here, what if I move my finger, to the next fret?
Yeah, it becomes a different. So your left hand isn't moving really so much on fret wise, but your finger, your right hand.
My right hand is.
So you're being percussive. Yeah, you're striking the note, and then that potential half mute with your finger. Yeah, is lighting up a harmonic somewhere in between.
Just as simple as that, and And again, and he had the sound, the feel, the vibe, and he's creating all this.
Yeah.
And like I said, when that song comes in, it's actually faded in. So you just have this. It's not like you just you hit play and all of a sudden he starts. This song fades in, so you're trying to capture like where's this coming from? Where's the start? Because when you hear a song, you hear that start.
Yeah.
This thing fades in, and you're like, where do you start to grasp it?
Yeah, sure.
And then he just goes and goes and goes until that little intro is done. Then
So think about it in a studio where he's probably just going off for however long, and then these guys took it from a certain spot and faded it in. And as a kid, being our age, we're just like, what the actual fuck is happening here?
Right. What is that?
Yeah.
And because he's utilizing, like, so Sean, you're a bass player. You got your thumb.
Yeah.
And muting on the left hand.
Sure.
So he's doing that and sounding off the notes. So, I know, on acoustic. So you got all that going on, and then as Chuck demonstrated, he's starting to sound off notes, but it's a melody.
Right.
If I guess we're not allowed to play clips, but the thing is, if you
That's why you guys are here. Play the clip.
you can't play the clip. I can't play.
Play.
Here's the thing: Eddie had such an impact on me personally, but I was, I could play some of the songs like we talked about at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
I could play them, but what was behind the curtain, the delivery of them was so much far beyond anything that I could ever reach. So I recognized that and being a shortcoming, but I adopted that mentality or that vibe, because everything he did was just, even during the more of the softer songs, or in the Sammy years, he was about melody. Ed was always about melody. He was the complete musician. This guy was a motherfucker of a lead player. He was a motherfucker of a fucking rhythm player, and he was a motherfucker of a songwriter. He just did everything, and all of us, myself, Chuck, and then even the greats that went on to do what they do, they all recognized that Ed just was like,
he was the whole
real deal,
the whole enchilada.
Yeah, he never, the whole, excuse me, if you ever watched any interviews or read any magazines, he was never about being famous. He wanted to be a musician, and he was always passionate about being a musician.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even necessarily being the best. He just wanted whatever he was feeling. I was told a story recently that when Ed was faced with an issue, or a problem, or whatever, even like a happy feeling, he had the 5150 studios built behind his house, and whenever he was trying to process.
Have some more Jack.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. Seriously.
Anytime he tried to process something internally, he would turn to music.
Yeah.
So that's why there are
Amazing records.
but there's also walls upon walls of 2-inch tape and everything else. Probably over, 200 to 400 hours worth of Ed just doing what he does. That's how he would work through his problems or his feelings. And sorry, Sean, go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I just, he was. That's what he did. That's how he communicated, and it was just great. But the playing, like you said, the songwriting, the rhythms, and then the lead. I'm a big fan of learning something beyond what needs to be learned, if that makes any sense. It's like going to the gym. If you think you're going to lift 50 pounds a day just doing your normal day thing, lift 100 pounds in practice. That way you have no problem with whatever it is you have to do with the 50 pounds.
Sure.
For instance.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right,
if you're gonna run 10 miles in your everyday life, practice with 20.
Sure.
Same theory.
Right.
So when we see Eddie on stage or wherever performing the things that he's doing, and it's just mind blowing anyways. how much further did he rehearse himself to just get that much relaxed, to crack that smile and be like, yeah, eat my ass? I mean, seriously.
I think he probably had like half a bottle of Jack, and then he.
I mean,
I agree with Chuck. I don't think.
Unfortunately, I think that was part of what,
Well, I mean, we all do what we
The
do.
blessing and the curse.
it's a blessing and the curse. Yeah, sure.
Well, I think not to touch on that aspect of his life, but
Right.
I will. I do agree. I mean,
Checkers, can you turn your volume down?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. It's like, wow.
Sorry, Mark.
I do believe because all of us, we, Michael, Chuck, Sean, I mean, we all do what we do, and there's a sweet spot when we either have one drink or two drink, and then we go and play. There's a sweet spot
There is.
where. Because think about it, as musicians, and I don't want to get all weird on everybody, but as musicians,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
so, we're out there, we love what we do and we want to do it. But there's also, whether it's 15 people, if it's a terrible gig, or if it's...
Those are record numbers for me.
Those could be sometimes
Record
good
numbers.
gigs.
Right. You're right. No, Chuck hit the nail on the head. That sometimes those 15 people could be like all in and be like they're hanging on every note, and they just want to have a good time with you because it's a celebration of the music.
Yeah.
So there's a sweet spot, and we get up there because we as musicians we have a higher standard of ourselves because we're here to deliver. I don't want to say a message or get kind of super weird because if we're playing covers, it's really not that. But we want to deliver a feeling, a good time. We're here to have fun, and sometimes there might be that. There might be that. Sorry, there might be that pressure where we don't want to shortchange the people that are there because we want to do the best that we can. So to take the edge off or take the stress away, excuse me, we'll have a drink or so and we'll get up there and now it feels right. Now we're just going to go out there and now wherever there are
many
those inhibitions that would kind of close in the dam. Right.
I agree with what you're saying. I'm not interrupting you, but
Right.
No, go
everybody is different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So some, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. So
I'm okay. Go ahead.
You know what?
Michael?
What do you got? Something else to say?
No. You're gonna play something.
I got something here I just want everybody to listen to. And it was
Make sure
actually...
your volume's up. Because
It is up. So check this out. Just want people to listen to this.
Eddie Van Halen here, telling you,
Yeah.
keep playing, man. Gotta keep playing. It's the only thing there is. Music, man. Keep playing.
There it is.
Right? I'm gonna come looking for you if you don't.
You know what?
I love it.
It's true.
That's true.
God bless him. I mean, what a
He I don't want to sound like a fanboy or whatever. I mean, he's
okay.
He's responsible on my end, because I did a deep dive with everything because, as I was young enough back then when he was doing his thing, I imagine anybody come after me or whatever, that you would latch on to the music because it spoke to you in a certain way. So, whether it's if you had trouble at home, a family upbringing, or you had trouble at school, or you had a trouble with a girl, or just or any troubles, you would always get to fucking hit the play button, and Eddie would make it better. You know what I mean? It's as silly as that sounds, right?
Doesn't sound silly at all.
So Ed would be like, "Hey man, what do you want me to play for you? I have X amount of records." I'd be like, "Ed, I need to listen to this today, and help me out. Take me away to make whatever it is." And then, especially with headphones, like Sean, mentioned earlier, you would hear whether it was a pick scrape or just a noise or anything. I mean, this dude was just
a dotted 16th with a.
He was just there.
I mean, it's just like, where did that come from?
And so that's
You guys going to play?
Well,
Jude, what do you got?
What do you got?
So here's the thing.
Some Spanish Fly. Come on.
I don't know, but
Just a lick. I'll put you on the spot. Come on. All this music talking about cheering things up. I need you to cheer me up.
Yeah.
I think so.
That sounds nice in here.
That thing sounds fantastic.
It does
you know
sound
what?
nice.
Matt Bishop, thank you for selling me that guitar.
Oh,
That was
Matty.
Wonderful.
Matt?
Matt Bishop. Matty Bumbleatti sold me that guitar.
Oh, is that where that? Oh, Matty.
Matty Bumbleatti. You can turn it back up, Mark. It's all right.
Let's hear
No,
it.
I didn't want to blow Mark out in the other room, but
Oh, that sounds really good.
yeah, I lost.
Yeah, Matt,
I
what's the
lost
warranty
all
on
my
that?
stuff. There it is.
There you go.
It's
I
back.
lost my stuff. I found it again.
That sounds great.
Come on, son. Let's play something. Or you guys play
That's the
something.
Roland amp, right, Chuck?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Sounds really good. What a nice amplifier.
So I guess for me, and here's the
Mark.
I said earlier. I'm just going to say it.
Go ahead. I just want to hear you play. Seriously.
Yes.
I know.
Sounds great.
But I was going to say I can't play like Ed.
Nobody's asking you to play
You
like
don't have
that.
But the thing is, like, what I got from him was the approach of the instrument. So if you're feeling sad, play something that's. You know, I would take that kind of vibe from him. And he always had like a rake into his long runs, or stuff like that. I just my approach to the instrument was what kind of like what he had. However I was feeling, it was okay to lean into it, whether it was sad, happy, or aggressive. My whole thing with Ed's playing, and he said it in an interview after the fact, but I always thought Ed was like literally lightning in a bottle. If you were to fucking capture a tornado or a hurricane or lightning and just like put it on display,
Right.
that was Ed's playing.
Sure.
So, I took that and I'm just like, holy fuck, this guy's just, and he just did what he did. And again, everybody reacts differently to certain things, but his music, for me, it spoke to me in that way that I heard all the things. So if Ed was going through pain or whatever, you would hear kind of that in some of his live solos when he started leaning on the whammy bar and making all these crazy sounds and just pushing the headstock into the speaker and or into the ground. So I would think that he was feeling something at the time. It wasn't necessarily the most beautiful music, but it was like pain or like going through tough times. But then you would listen to something off of Diver Down, and it's so weird. A lot of people criticize that because it was all 60% covers. But you have like the intro to Little Guitars, you have Secrets, you have Cathedral. Guys, if you don't know this, or girls, check it out on Spotify or YouTube, and you would hear all these elements of how Ed was feeling. If you were to go back before Diver Down, which was the Fair Warning record, it's a very dark record. It was very aggressive, and as Chuck talked about Mean Streets, like the first track on the record, it fades in, and he's just, and going through that whole thing and that whole melodic sequence, and then the Chuck, what is it? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like it would punch you in the face.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's actually
it's
actually kind of close.
Yeah, it sounds very similar.
Yeah, it is. It is very close.
I think I'm playing it in the wrong position, but here's the thing. So when I was, younger, I learned all the stuff as best I could, but I could never really get there. But it was.
Well, you're not supposed to really get there because it's just something that he.
Well, actually,
Let's hear something.
and to add to that, what Mark's saying, I can remember one time when I was in high school, and it was funny when the summer came around. That was my time to practice. I mean, I would literally, you get used to your school schedule. You're up at 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
My summers before I had to get a job.
Yeah.
A couple of years there. That summer, that to me was guitar summer because I would literally get up at 8 in the morning, have the guitar in my hand, and I would literally be at home. It's funny. I just discovered a photo of me. I just found a couple of days ago when I was of that age, and my grandmother took a picture of me in my bedroom playing. And these summers, 8 in the morning, and I'd be falling asleep downstairs on the living room couch with it like at 11 o'clock at night.
With the guitar in your lap?
Guitar just sitting there, and I would be playing in my room, and then I would when if I wanted to be more, not that I was never social, I was just always like, I was trying to learn something, and I'd go downstairs, and I would just be sitting there doing mindless. Just
finger exercises.
Mindless things to try to get the being in sync. But one of the things I'll never forget, one of those summers, and I took I hate to say all day, but I remember spending hours on it. And it was just the very beginning of that right there. Just to get that feel. Yep. I couldn't get it. And you hear the drums come in, A, slide D. Yeah. And he made it sound just that, the chord and that note, that chord.
Right.
I tried to capture that vibe.
Sure. Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I mean, granted, I was still, very, at the beginning stage of playing, but even just that little nuance.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is just, never mind, everything came after it.
But that was his thing. I mean, you could take the greatest guitar player that isn't Eddie Van Halen, and have them play that lick, let's say.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be the same.
No.
It's never gonna come close.
No. But that vibe, the way he went into the note, everything about it was like, just to slide into the A, and the approach to the E, the vibrato.
He dug into that.
Yes.
And the way he dug into it, and it's like, and you try to replicate it, and then again too, not really knowing of anything of the instrument, and just trying to, this is before I got the tab on it, and I'm just trying to all of a sudden, I got a couple notes, you're all excited, and all of a sudden he takes off, you're like, okay. But just, again, that vibe goes to the A to the E, and just trying to get that cool feel. It was that feel, that texture, and that's what was so great about him, is even though, like a lot of the stuff that, Mark was just saying to us, and myself, and I'm sure millions of others, even though we might not, you learn the riffs, as they come to you, and, you get it all down, and then you move on to something else. So, but it was always in your
vocabulary,
your background. Yeah.
Right. Mm.
But, if you don't use it, you lose it. But that was his vibe, but you do the best you can. But the idea of it is that that inspiration makes you look into things a little bit more. You have a little bit more adventure in music, because he was just so innovative, just making some cool sounds, cool vibes. And that carried on to just my playing to this day. Just, I'm figuring out a song the other day, or whatever. I'm doing a totally different style of music. But again, it's part of his influence that made me want to take a song and okay, how can I kind of play with that? And especially now with technology, you can use loopers. Hey, how can I mess with this? But it was his branding of just being so innovative, and it's just, if you allow not just the playing, but how creative it was to actually affect you, that opens a lot of doors.
To reiterate a little bit, Eddie Van Halen came from not quite nothing, but he didn't have a lot of money when he was a kid.
Nope.
And when he was, a teenager, I'm sure he didn't have a lot of money, but he had the brain, and he was able to, create these things and manipulate things into what he needed them to do for him.
Yeah.
And he crossed a line beyond anything. I mean, think about it. I mean, if Damasio couldn't duplicate the pickup that Eddie was doing in his kitchen with probably his mother's pots and pans with a thing of wax.
Yeah, so true.
And Eddie just knew. That just means that he. Are you okay? You want to?
Yeah.
You get you a rag and some. You want to shake the whole table? With the booze.
I'd love to hear some playing.
So what I'm saying is, this guy was so smart that he. You like that? I'll call you right out. So this guy was so smart. He knew what he was doing with his stuff. He knew the goal he wanted to get to, and he got there. Yeah. And then he just ripped the world to shreds with it. Yeah. Literally, that's really where the word "shred" came from. I'm guessing.
Maybe.
Literally shred people.
Could be.
Well, it was always trial and error because he was always chasing. He was chasing.
He's like, we keeping you awake?
No.
You guys are killing me right now.
Well,
this is like the War and Peace of podcast right now.
Oh my God! But think about what we're talking about. I mean,
I think it's great. I love it, but I just want to hear some playing.
Grady, listen. You're asking to create the king, the guy that did it all. So just to piggyback what Chuck said, I think so. You had Hendrix, and there were some people that are like, well, he did this for guitar. And he absolutely motherfucking did. I mean, Hendrix did what he did.
Yeah, Hendrix was.
So did Jimmy Page. And, so did Tony Iommi. He was the first guy to fucking tune down. I mean, we're talking a whole step. Nobody understood why Black Sabbath sounded so heavy.
And low B.
Because
he also had low B.
Oh, it was like a baritone guitar?
It was a whole step down to C. The whole guitar was tuned down a whole step.
Oh, okay.
So when you heard all these songs, it was like, well, they're heavy because Tony, obviously, he lost all his fingers, and because he worked at a.
I thought it was 2 or 3 fingers, right? Just the tips.
The tips. Right, correct. So I stand.
Worked at a factory.
Let me be descriptive. Yeah, he worked at
just the tips.
Okay, so he worked at a bread factory, and he lost the tips of his fingers. So in order to play the guitar, because that was his passion, like Eddie's, he tuned the guitar down so it was easier for him to play the notes, fret the chords, et cetera, et cetera. So when you listen to Black Sabbath,
Ozzy was like, "Hey, mate, play that riff one more time."
And because it was low enough, he could sing it. So it's
terrible. I love Ozzy. We love you, Ozzy.
Go ahead. That being, I don't know, you threw me off. Anyway,
that was easy.
Anyway,
all right. So what you guys got? You got to play something. Y'all talking.
Right. So,
I just want to hear some guitar playing.
All right.
So you know what? I tell you what. If I play just a vamp on 2 chords or something like that, Chuck will play in the style of Ed, maybe what Ed would have done. Just lean into it.
Why don't you guys trade back and forth a bit? That's fine.
How am I going to trade anything?
You know what the best part I like about this is? So Chuck, you haven't done a lot of electric guitar work. Really, in the last couple
20
of years.
years.
It's 20 years.
20 years.
And Mark,
same. Thanks, COVID.
You're mostly
fuck China.
You're mostly electric. I know everybody's got the kung flu.
Yeah, I haven't played electric since fucking COVID.
Everybody was kung flu fighting.
And kung flu fighting. Yeah.
Okay, so wait, Mark, you said something really interesting before you start playing. This is the thing you said. You said he's like the king. The thing
really is.
Now think about this though. Any king, if you're honoring what his legacy is.
Yes, he would call over the Mark, say, "Piss boy, come here, piss boy."
No.
All right, go good. Play. I got to hear something. I got to hear something. My ears hurt.
So we'll Chuck, you want to just
well, simple. How about either like "You Really Got Me" kind of riff, or "Ain't Talking About Love,"
or I could do
or you just want
C to D.
You guys want to like an original? You want to do something and just simulate?
Yeah, because if we try to do something like Chuck and I were talking earlier before we went on air, I'm like, so we haven't played these riffs since we were younger. That doesn't mean that we don't appreciate and don't love. He was there, and I personally will say, and I've texted this to many a friend. So in Ed's passing, as all the influence that he had on me when I was a child to deep dive in on the music in his playing, in his passing, because I'll be honest, I've gotten lazy. With what we do in our neck of the woods, we play the gigs, we do the thing, and you kind of lose the passion to a degree. But in honoring Ed, I would go back and listen to all those records. And I'm like, this motherfucker, are you kidding me? So when, when he passed and listening to that stuff, it reinvigorated me to want to get back into the instrument at that new, undiscovered level, like it was brand new. So, that's how how I feel.
Okay, so
All right.
just one last thing. No matter what you guys do right now, musically with Van Halen, I'm not shitting on the Lewis brothers, but it can't be half as bad as what we did 2 weeks ago.
Hey, Louie and Chipper,
No, they were great.
You
They were
guys,
great.
They fucking killed that.
They were great. But what I'm saying is,
he's making reference to the ridiculously out-of-tune trombone player.
I thought it was splendid. Mike.
I
That was
don't.
a
I
great
rarely
job.
say this, but I sounded like ass.
Mike, you had to vamp back and forth between E and A.
The didgeridoo, is that what it was? Didgeridoo, is that
the didgeridoo,
right? Didgeridoo. That was pretty impressive. That was pretty impressive.
Right?
Well,
that was you guys did the.
If we could have sampled that, I mean, nothing against Louis, because Louis did a great job on guitar. He learned it 10 minutes before he showed up here.
So Chuck, so let's do this.
Yeah.
We'll vamp something between two chords. You work your wonders between. Bless you, Michael.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Droplets.
Thank you.
Between
Sorry, Chuck.
So we'll.
You guys play. I'm going to pour some more drinks, get some more beers. Nice.
Oh my
You
word!
guys want to flip it?
Come on.
Chuck, you do a rhythm?
Yeah.
Nice.
I gotta tell you something, guys. This was totally worth the wait.
Just gonna lube them up a bit.
Yeah, buddy.
Nice. That was awesome.
That was very nice. That last
Chuck, thank you,
sliding
buddy.
thing, that was good.
Just trying
That
to.
was- that was like-
I'm just pretty.
That was like honey for the ears.
Do you think we have to pay National Grid royalties for their part in the song?
Yeah,
too?
for the buzz. Chuck, turn that up. Let's see if we can find the note.
It was E. Jim Carrey. You want to hear?
That was
wanna hear
E.
the most annoying noise in the world.
Yeah, so we're down a half step. That's E.
There it is. It's A, right?
Yeah, I was in there. So
Down, down.
Oops, I lost me.
Oh, there you go. A little scissor kick there. So guys, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna wrap it up a bit. Chuck, grab your note. Not yet.
he's like,
Look at that. Michael's like,
How many times? How many
so
times do you say?
excited.
listen,
So excited to end the show.
that's probably the
No,
most.
I'm not
That's
excited
the most
to end
electric I've played
Crank your
in
volume
a long
all the way
time.
back.
Oh,
a
I'm
little
sorry,
more,
sorry.
Chuck.
Sorry.
Thank you. Wow. It's like
Grady's like, my knee, my fucking knee, my knee. Money.
By the way, Mike, you look great. You walked down here. You look fantastic. I know you just had some surgery on your leg.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
And I'm
damn.
glad you're on the road to
Yep,
feeling
I'm
better.
feeling
You made
better.
it down here to the studio.
My knee is working as designed now.
BamBoozled Central.
As designed.
As designed. You
Trust me,
Yeah,
Mike.
Hinge.
In 2 weeks, you're gonna be on the. You're gonna be in Gillette playing with the Patriots.
As long as I don't have COVID, I'll be all set.
right. And Bucky, don't you have a surgery coming up too yourself?
Yeah, that's not important right now.
No. Okay. All right. Okay.
I'm trying to stay away
My
from
transformation to the Winter Soldier isn't happening until the.
Bucky.
So you caught that reference.
I totally got
totally.
that. Fucking Bucky.
All right. So listen. Great show tonight, guys.
thank
Thanks
you.
for coming on and sharing your
Thank you.
your
Thank
thoughts
you.
on Eddie. I mean, Eddie.
Thank you.
Mark St. Jean behind the scenes,
Mark,
doing
where-
all the
Wicked.
doing all the
Are you
audio.
awake? Mark, you there?
Mark,
I'm here.
Man behind the
So,
am here.
hey, hold on, Mark. What was your first Van Halen song that you heard? What was your first take when you discovered Eddie? I guess I don't know.
Well, I mean, Van Halen 1, the first Van Halen I heard when I was about 12. I borrowed it from my friend's sister, so whatever track 1 was on that album.
Running with the Devil.
Running with the Devil.
Yep.
Yeah, so that would have probably been the first song. I remember thinking, this guy screams too much.
I fucking love it. But it's the most memorable and iconic scream ever.
Right, and it became, it became the thing everybody else wanted to do as well. So,
Yeah.
Van Halen touched my life very early on.
Yeah, they
Not
kind
in a bad way.
of they kind of touched that whole idea of what was like the LA rock scene back then. I wouldn't call it glam rock, but I mean, you got the crazy guitar player, you got the incredible rhythm section all together, long hair. David Lee Roth just being the showman of showmans.
Yes.
And everything, if you think about it, what we grew up with, everything followed in their footsteps.
It really did.
100 trillion
really
really
did.
did.
Into the 90s.
I mean, all of them. You think about it. I
All
mean,
of
it
it.
really did. And I mean, the big hair days. I think it could have some of it came from David Lee Roth because he was a flamboyant. He was just that guy.
He was a show.
He was the showman.
The show.
And I think he inspired a lot of those people.
If you want to see something interesting, go back and look at some Grand Funk Railroad videos.
Okay, one of my
Interesting.
favorite.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think you'll recognize where David Lee Roth's persona came from.
Mark, who was the, so refresh my memory.
Mark Farner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was Jimmy something or other from the, no, not from Grand Funk, but where DLR got his really? Grand Junk?
Because they had no horns.
What is
No,
that?
it's just
Grand Funk Railroad.
That goes back to our drummer. When we did a song about, we just called him Grand Junk. It wasn't.
Oh, because of some kind of
Is that
wonderful.
where the term junk comes from? Junk, the jam
don't-
you guys do?
Jeez, that was terrible, Michael.
It's so funny. You know that.
I know that. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
that.
junk. That's an F minor.
F minor, yeah.
Well, really? Like
What's an F minor, Mark?
Well, and,
Play an
and
F minor.
on this guitar, it'll be this. Because we're down a half step. That is F minor.
That is, yes.
Okay.
There it is. Oh, there it is.
That's that amazing guitar chord that I handed you.
That guitar coming from Matt Bishop. Yes.
Yeah.
And Matty Bumbalati, thanks for that. What a beautiful instrument.
Amazing.
Matty
Amazing.
Bumbalati.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. There
Maddie-
goes Matt Bishop.
Hey, Matt,
All
if
right.
that was
Maddie, thank you.
If that
Thanks,
was a
Maddie.
donation, we'll talk.
So just so people know, would you say in the Northeast Maine region Guitar Center?
Guitar
Maddie?
Center, yeah. Go
Check
see
out.
Matt-
Go
Matt-
see
Matt
Maddie.
Bishop,
Go see
yeah.
Matt Bishop.
Portland.
Get your shit.
Yeah, Matt's great. Yeah, that's great. So
So we'll leave it at this.
that's it. G Money's pulling the trigger. There it is. Did we vote? I guess we don't have to vote. All right, so hey,
Always vote.
Wonderful episode, guys. Eddie Van Halen, we're gonna miss you. True alien. He was just beyond everything that I could ever wish for as a musician or a mathematician or what a genuine person. Love him to pieces. So, guys, thank you, Mark. Chuck,
Thank you.
Sean,
G Money.
Michael, Mark.
I'm so
behind
glad
the
you broke
scenes.
that old Charvel out.
Unbelievable.
Thank you so much.
Are those strings from the Bush administration? I think they might be, aren't they?
That was, no, Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter. No, it sounds great.
Not far off.
Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Mark, thank you. Where are you? There he is. Okay.
All right, guys.
Good night.
Good night. Take care.